it's been doing it a while, but I think with the town hall and all of this is kind of new, and not a
I
lot of
like
people do it.
I like the whole idea. Good.
Yeah, there's not a lot like this, so hopefully this is dynamic and hopefully it'll grow. You're getting in on the
Yeah.
ground level with us, man. So stick with us.
Yeah, well, as much as I can. Have you guys seen the opportunities to dissect the dead bodies and check things out? That's what
Well,
amazes.
I think that within the documents, the details about,
Sorry about that, guys. I had to fix that
I can't
audio
speak for
problem.
Australia, of course, but here in North America, within the continent, areas that are possibly being created for them, and that's ongoing right now. Areas that are specifically being set aside and created for specifically for the Squatch species. And we had a
I've
great.
heard, I have heard about that. There's one area in the US. It's the land's owned by military. It's zoned off. They won't let any public go in. And there's apparently a small group of Sasquatch living on that property that they know about.
Well, that's one of many areas, Al. That's one of many, and it's happening all over. We believe, and we had an in-depth discussion just the other night about an area in Louisiana, the White Kitchen area. And it's unfortunate that you weren't in on that discussion with us because that was a pretty good one. And we talked just about that. Areas in Louisiana that are being created, possibly for this species to exist.
Gets me is the old documents that they've released by the US military that talks about the different types of wildlife in different parts of the US, and they list the Sasquatch as being a native species in the forest.
Yes, if you go and this what I'm about to tell you is information that you can find on the internet. Um, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in the state of Washington State, United States. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, in their field manual of flora, fauna, and species, they list the Sasquatch in there and give great detail on it. Now, isn't that amazing to you? If the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers
Yeah,
has that listed in their field book,
this means that the US government's acknowledging it.
I know that Amy and I were talking about this the other night. That I've investigated a lot of cases where injured squatches or squatches that are injured or relocated for whatever reason, there seems to be a high ratio of them being released in the state of Idaho. For whatever reason, there seems to be a lot of them going up there and being released. If they're captured, if they're brought in injured, or anything like that, for whatever reason, they seem to be releasing them there. And that may be one of the stronghold areas that they're creating in the state of Idaho and areas.
That makes a lot of sense.
Amy, I guess you didn't want to hear that, did you?
No, Rick and I had discussed it.
What's your view on Janusqua?
I don't know. You're going to have to brief us on that.
You've never heard of Janusqua?
Personally, I haven't. I don't know if any of the gals or anyone else has.
The Janusqua is the gray one that has the rock hard skin and is more aggressive down in East Texas.
Montana too.
Haven't a lot of them been actually spotted with red glowing eyes?
I don't believe in the glowing eye thing because if they had bioluminescence in their eyes, they wouldn't be able to see because they'd be blinding themselves.
So then, Rick, I've never heard you mention the Janusqua. What is your theory on the Janusqua? I mean, it's just another form of the Squatch. I'm getting that's how you feel.
Yeah, it's just another race, just based on their environment that they've evolved in. They have a much tougher hide on them. Supposedly, it's like rock, and they're gray. They have gray hair, And that guy, I don't know about the reports of red eyes, but yeah.
I have actually read some small reports of them being recorded with having glowing red eyes, but it could have been something that could have been reflecting off them.
Yeah, I believe in eye shine, absolutely. I think people are just mistaken some really serious eye shine with glowing. That's all.
The biggest Bigfoot that I've ever heard on record of height was about 15 foot tall.
Yeah, it's about the biggest I've heard of, too.
And
Yeah.
that was an incident with a special forces unit up in Alaska.
Rick, is that where you heard that? Because I do know, I firmly believe that the further north that you go, I believe the larger they get. I think that, yeah, Alaska would be the stronghold for their height. If there's a 15-foot Squatch, I would believe it would be in Alaska.
Well, I've heard of 15-footers in Colorado, too.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think I've heard. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Al.
I've heard of one other case too, where there was supposedly one that was spotted at something like 16 feet tall. It was a very unusual case.
Well, I think once they hit 15, it's a little tough to say, oh, this one's 16. You're talking another foot.
Yeah.
And they're so tall. I mean, how are you going to make that distinction, really, without actually measuring them?
Well, the person that said they saw it outside their house, and they said the size of the thing, it wasn't a very normal size.
Well, if they have something for reference, sure. Even a footprint, because you can use the ratio, the size of the footprint, to figure out how tall it is.
Yeah, and then you can work out the weight too by the depth of the footprint. Huh? What do you guys think about dogmen?
Well, I think with a portion of this community that we got going here, that we just feel it's another species of Squatch. Do we think that it's an actual separate species?
Yep.
That is an upright walking bipedal wolf-like dog? Or Rick has some unique theories on that. Rick, you want to go with that?
I looked into the genetics of dogs, bears, wolves, dogs, bears, and raccoons. And based on the descriptions that everyone has given, the only thing, because I do not believe that a dog grew feet and started walking on 2 feet. You know, I would understand it if it had canine feet and it was completely a canine that just walked upright. I could get that, but everyone says it has hands and feet. That has always been, oh no, there's no way. So the other day, last week I think it was, or the week before, I looked into it and found out that raccoons are very closely related to canines. As a matter of fact, there's a raccoon dog. And when you listen to the descriptions, it matches the description of a giant upright raccoon.
Wow. One theory, I talked to someone about this, and they reckon that they might be descendants to a baboon.
Well, the pictures I've seen, it could be a Sasquatch with kind of a baboon kind of muzzle, sir.
Yeah, because I was talking with one paleontologist about that, and that's what he reckons the dogman might be. There might be part baboon mixed with something else.
Personally, Al, my theory is it's another form of Squatch. What's being seen is
Yeah.
I can only speak for North America, and I just think that, yeah, I just feel that the dogman sightings here in North America are actually Sasquatches.
They have started happening here in Australia too.
Al, I just put a link in the lobby of
All
it's
right.
one of Brian Sullivan's on Janasqua. He's got quite a bit of information on him.
Yeah, I've got a subscription to his YouTube channel.
You're saying you're
Okay.
getting dogmen in Australia now?
Yeah, there's been sightings of them.
Yeah, that's the first I heard of that. I hadn't heard of that. Now,
Yeah, that's
I wonder if
interesting.
that- yeah,
I-
yeah, Rick. Yeah, I wonder if that's just like a carryover from the hysteria here in North America.
Could be anything. I don't know.
Why can't it be another species?
That's a possibility. How the hell did it wind up getting here, though?
Well, you
I
know,
don't
I think humans are the only animal that is on every continent on the planet. Isn't that true?
Oh yeah, that is true. Very true.
Oh, I thought when the continents separated, all the platelets and everything or whatever, I thought maybe they would have, got separated with each big landmass.
Well, what I'm getting at is that humans are the only animal on every single continent, except for Bigfoot.
Have they proved that?
I'm going to throw this out here, and this goes to show you I'm out of my mind. But why can't they be man-made?
Because they've been around for thousands of years, and men were pretty stupid back then.
No, I'm not talking about the Bigfoot. I'm talking about the dog man.
Well, the dogmen have been around for a long time too. I think they go back to Indian times, if I remember right. So
I've heard recorded cases of them also being around when Atlantis was up.
what the hell?
Yeah, that's I never heard that. That's a bit of a stretch.
Maybe they've just evolved from something else, and through all these years that this is what they are now.
Case I've heard with a former CIA special forces guy that talked about having to fight a bunch of them that they'd captured.
Having to fight a bunch of what?
Dogmen.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of that case at all.
They interviewed this guy. He actually spoke off the record about.
Yeah, for me personally, I got to tell you, and I'm just speaking for me personally, I really don't investigate any of the dog man stuff. Maybe I should start doing that more, but I really don't.
I
I
have
try to
heard of
stay
a.
on top.
Oh
I
yeah.
try to stay on topic with this. I really don't deviate.
That's all
I
right.
don't know. Maybe I should.
I have heard of a case where an Australian hunter heard stories about dogmen here in Australia in the 70s. He was talking to a lot of the local Aboriginals. They refer to them as being devil dogs or whatever. He went looking for one, and he died in unusual circumstances. He went out there with a rifle. The guy had his head torn clean off. When the police found him, his head was separated from his body. It was ripped off, and the police examined him. They said that whatever did it to him wasn't human. You're right.
What's going on, everybody?
Exactly. How many different types of Sasquatch are there?
Well, I mean, as far as we know, there may not be different types, but they have different characteristics based on the area in the world that they've been or that they're at. I mean, there's been sightings in pretty much every, and well, there has been sightings in every continent. I mean,
Exactly. I agree with Rick. And also, OG, I like your hypotheses just now as well. I believe that it's one race, one species, but different characteristics per region.
Wouldn't
Yeah,
that
I
make
mean,
them
we've
different
seen it.
types of tribes?
I mean, possibly.
Yeah.
Like a race of ancient people that's been around for a long time.
Sorry, but I believe we're all of tribes. I don't think we'll ever get past anything else.
So I'm gonna throw a piece out that I can see in the back of my mind that makes a little bit of sense. So you've got people. If you go to Africa, you know, the natives in Africa are going to be more slender, tighter muscle mass, built to go fast and withstand the heat. If you go to, Greenland, people are going to be, a little not heavy, but a little on the heavier side. They're going to be a little bit thicker boned because their fat content is what keeps them warm. As far as like tribal people, like not just everyday guy in the townhouse, but Sasquatch are the same way. So if you have a Sasquatch from, the Himalayas, they're gonna have maybe a thicker coat of fur, or a wall of fat, like bears build up a wall of fat before the winter. It's all the same species, but there's like sublettings of different character traits and body makeup.
Different
Yes.
versions of them.
Yes, OG, I agree 100%.
And if you really look at it, like there's the whole debate on whether or not they're human. And if you really think about it, what if these are human that have just evolved farther than we have? Because it's obvious that they can withstand the elements better than we can.
Yes.
Well, not only that, but their bones are thicker, their body mass is bigger, their muscle definition is higher, their muscle mass is higher, their primal instincts are far greater. These creatures have, they've learned over however many years, probably thousands of years, how to cope with anything that comes in their way, and they've been thriving so much so that they can stay hidden from whoever wants to find them.
Yes, and Rick, I think that's really dynamic what you just brought up within the human species. If you think of evolution, we should have evolved covered in hair. Why would we evolve not to be covered in hair? That is a question right there.
No, I disagree. I guess because of my upbringing. I just believe that God made us in His image, and talks about where we realized we were naked after Eve tasted from the tree of life.
So is that God being an alien race, or?
No, I don't believe all that hooey about on History Channel or what it is when they're trying to say that God was aliens. I don't believe that.
Well, Teresa, the Bigfoots are naked too. And I mean, according to that logic, you're saying the only reason that the Bigfoot is who they are and we are who we are is because they don't know that they're naked yet.
No, I believe that God made us special because He so loved the world.
Well, that's another argument. That's a biblical argument. I don't want to go down that road.
I know it, but this is Sasquatch hypotheses, and it's an open forum with open-minded people. Am I not right
Yep.
about the hypotheses part anyway? Where's
I
Dee
just think
Dee?
that I just think that there's two things that when you're in a group and it's very diverse, there's two things you shouldn't talk about, and that's religion and politics.
That's very true.
I wasn't talking about per se religion because I mean I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious.
Were you talking about? You're basically talking about the history of Christianity, weren't you?
I believe in the Holy Bible. That's what I believe in, and I believe if people would just read those instructions, that's what differentiates us and separates us from the animals.
Okay, I'm going to say something. I just hope it don't piss anybody off, and especially you, Teresa, because I really do like you. But, um, you know, there are so many things going on in this world, and people are being, it is just total annihilation. And supposedly it's all, it's their religion and how they believe. And
I'm not trying to start no war.
I know you're not. I don't mean it that way. I'm just saying it's just, once you put your foot in that pool, it just opens up so much stuff. Just need to go on in another direction.
I don't. I believe if everybody else's hypotheses is accepted, I believe mine should be accepted too.
I agree with you. Everybody has a voice and everybody should be able to say whatever they want. And I do agree with that. Everybody has the right to believe the way they want to.
Because if we were so much like Bigfoot, we would all be partying around.
In some ways, they have a very structured life and they have a family dynamic. And so, that they have to have their own beliefs. I mean, they're too intelligent not to.
And
So,
they even have their own language.
exactly. And so, you got to give them credit, a lot more credit than what some people want to give them.
I do. I certainly do. But what I'm trying to say is, what if now I done forgot what I was going to try to say?
It'll come back to you.
Yeah, I guess true to form took off.
Rick, say something.
That is true. Yeah, because of the whole free will thing, because he chose not to step in relation to things making their own choices. Yep.
Now, in the discussion of like genetic makeup and what they are or whatever, there was a story that I came across the other night of a former military soldier in the United States that was put on an overnight watch over a supply truck. And during his overnight
I've heard
watch,
that.
he was approached by a creature out of the tree line from the darkness, thought it was a person, called out to it multiple
Sorry,
times,
guys,
told
I'm
it to
using
stop.
two
When it
different
didn't, he
mics. I
pulled his
forgot to turn
firearm
this one
and he
back
shot
on
it.
so you could hear what I was saying.
And when he shot it, it ran back towards the tree line. Well, when the rest of, or when the
I turned
the
it
next
off
platoon or
because
whatever
Crypto was
arrived to
complaining
overwatch,
about me sucking on my
he
vape.
told them about what happened, and they took blood samples from the blood trail. And when they tested the blood, the results came back that it was the DNA was a mixture of human, animal, and chlorophyll.
Interesting.
Meaning that not only does the whatever it was have human traits, animal traits, but the ability to use sunlight and moisture as a way to fuel itself.
I've read that.
So have I.
The cloaking.
What about the cloaking?
Well, supposedly they're able to cloak and then just suddenly appear.
So about a lot of the idea about like the whole cloaking thing, it's not necessarily that they can cloak, but that they have a different vibrating frequency that emits from their body than we do. So everybody's body vibrates, and you never notice it because it's been like that your whole life. But everybody's body has a frequency that that you vibrate with, and the idea is that they vibrate at a higher frequency that our eyes and our video cameras can't always keep up with, and that's what creates like blob squatches and the idea that they kind of disappear into the brush.
That's one theory. Mine is that they just refract light like a polar bear. They have their fur and potentially an oil on their skin has the ability to refract light. In other words, they can, any color that's around them gets refracted through their fur and the oil on their skin, and it makes them difficult to see.
So like a chameleon blending in with its surroundings.
Similar. Polar bears have fur like that.
I mean, you also have to think about the fact that 90% of the time when these creatures are seen or caught on film, they are in dense thicket or brush or trees and things like that. And as they get farther away, that dark color of their fur is just going to disappear to the human eye because there's only so much that you can pick up with
What
the
do you
human eye
mean you can't talk,
with that
freak
much around
nasty?
it.
What are you talking?
So
What's your
if you've got a
username?
creature that's going to like a dense thicket, you're eventually not going to be able to see it anymore because you're looking for the creature, not the movement. So if you're not looking for specifically movement, you're not going to be able to see it anymore. Your eyes just can't pick it up with all of the brush and thicket and trees that's around it.
What's your guys' view on the infrasound that Sasquatch produces?
All right, try it now. Try it now, freak.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, somebody's trying to get in here and talk. I had to unmute him. What was your question, Al?
Okay. Oh, yeah. What's your policy on Sasquatch's infrasound?
I don't think that there's any reason to believe that they can't do it. I mean, their larynx is large enough.
Yeah. I've heard of one of them being seen using it to take down a deer, big deer.
Well, there's also talk about the fact that they use it to freeze you up when you see them. You know, you always hear people talking about how they completely froze and couldn't move when they see it.
Try again, freak.
Usually, isn't there also a lot of psychological fear too from people that see them visually? Some people, they get so scared crapless that the brain just overrides. They just
there we
become
go.
stunned mullet.
Hey, there you go.
One can
Welcome to the town hall.
Thank you, sir.
I, for one, can tell you that when I saw what I saw, I sure as hell froze up. And somebody had picked me up and throw me in the car.
Still in shock for a long time, huh?
I know we stood there for a good, oh, I don't know, minute or more, and just totally frozen. And then when we got in the car, you know, I can just remember just crying and crying, just so dang terrified. But in the initial, you know, in the very beginning, and when he started screaming, no, you couldn't do nothing. All you could do is just feel it in your chest. It just absolutely terrorized you.
Hi, Dee Dee.
Hello, people.
Hi, Dee Dee.
Hey, Dee Dee.
How y'all doing?
G'day.
I'm doing good.
Hey, what happened? True to Form left us for good? What's he mad at us? Did I say something bad?
No, I think Teresa was talking about the Bible and we were created in that. And I don't know, maybe he didn't like that. Or he might have just got disconnected. That's happened to him a few times.
I mean, was he on here with y'all?
Yeah, he was. Now he's not. Somebody else just left. Who was it? Oh, Paula. Paula, are you having trouble? It looks like you should be able to talk.
Well, if y'all don't mind, I'm going to listen in. I mean, if anybody has a specific question or something, I'll answer it. Kind of sitting with my daughter, I had to bring her to the doctor. She really wasn't feeling well. She's having some trouble with ulcers. So she's in a lot of pain, and I didn't want y'all to think I was skipping out on you.
No, go ahead. Take care of her. Tell her I hope she feels better.
Thanks.
Okay, where were we?
Okay, Rick, did you hear me talking about that movie I was watching tonight?
No, I caught part of it right at the, just as I was turning the show on, but I didn't know.
It was called Big Legend.
I've heard about that.
Really?
It's like
Would you hear it?
It's like a horror movie, isn't it?
Yes. It freaked me out.
And what is it? Sasquatch related?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's about a young couple that take off and go hiking, and they go off the grid, and they're in their tent at night, and they start hearing noises. And he was in the service, and it kind of comes across that he was really, big, you know, he'd been in combat and stuff, and but anyway, this Squatch is ends up snatching the girl. He gets out of the tent to find out what the noises are, and while he's out looking around, well, Squatch just grabs the tent and takes off with the girl in it. And then it comes back to a year later, and he's back out in the woods with this other dude, and stuff is just starting to go on. So that's as far as I got.
Is it on Netflix, or where'd you find the movie?
I found it on YouTube, and I just put in you could buy it for like $3.99, but I put on there, Big Legend free movie, and it popped up, and so it's a free movie, and so I started watching it.
Where is it free at?
I caught it on YouTube.
Oh, so the whole movie's on YouTube?
Yeah, when I put it in, it was really kind of funny, and it doesn't bother me, but it actually is like, the way it's presented, it's like the movie is in a different company or a different country, and it's got subtitles of whatever that country is, but the movie is actually in English. So but that doesn't bother me. I sat there and watched it.
I'll check back in with you guys later. I've got to go feed my goats.
Okay, Amy.
I actually watched another Bigfoot horror movie that was similar to that recently. I think it was called Stomping Ground.
Well, I don't think I've heard of that.
It has to do with a pack of them that are using tree for like armor plating on them. They hunt with arrows and stuff. And there's an old witch in the forest that knows what these creatures are up.
The only one that I've seen is one. It was just titled Sasquatch, and it was a sci-fi film back in the early 2000s.
Was it the Harlan Knowles story?
Ya guys, kembali
I'm
lagi
not
di
sure. It was
channel
based about
Moving
an
Diesel.
author whose wife had passed, and he bought a cabin in the woods and went out there so he could write his next book. And a couple of college girls rented the cabin across from him, and he kept hearing things in the woods and stuff, and then he watched it like attack them and like pulled one girl through the floor and killed her, and then it started like going after him. It was weird.
I have seen that movie. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Pretty sure it
Seen
was
that
just
one.
titled Sasquatch.
No, there was another one just called Sasquatch, and it was called the Harlan Knowles story. Apparently, they went and shot a sequel, or well, they're talking about a sequel to Exists.
Yeah, I'll have to check out that Big Legend here later. I found it. Well, Paula, you are already on. You're not muted or anything, so it's got to be something in your settings. Have you hit your push to talk?
Okay, I'm back on. I don't think Paula can get on.
Well, Paula's actually on here. It's just for some reason sound isn't getting from her mouth to here. Can you hear me, Paula? You have to use the push to talk. You have to go into your voice settings and switch it to push to talk, and then they'll. I don't know if you're on your phone. There'll be a little bar that says push or push to talk, and if it's your desktop, it'll probably be like your space bar or something. Whatever you tell it to use.
Has anyone had aggressive encounters with Sasquatch?
Not anybody in here that I know of. Oh, well, I mean, Teresa, actually, but yeah, I'd say that was. Helen, you can't see me because I got out of the shower and I haven't done my hair yet.
Mm.
Teresa, why don't you give him a quick idea of what your encounter was?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Well, it was way back in about 71. I was probably about 16 years old, and there was a bunch of us kids, and we were out in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And we come up in on a dirt track and went into this valley, and it was nothing but cliffs and trees everywhere. And we got out and we were sitting at the bottom of this cliff, and I don't know, it was probably about 50 or 60 feet to the top, and we'd been there just a little bit, and just all of a sudden this horrendous god awful scream just let loose. And of course all of us were just absolutely scared to death. There was just me and another girl, and there was probably about 6 guys, 5 or 6, and then just the usual group. And anyway, it was so angry, and you could hear it in your chest. You could feel it in your skin. I mean, it. I don't even know how to describe it. And you look up, and it's standing right there at the top of the cliff, right above your head. And you're just everybody's just or me and the other girl were just absolutely frozen. And a couple of the guys, grabbed a hold of us and threw us in the car. But we all got the sense that if we hadn't got out of there, it was so angry, and it wasn't swaying, it was standing there broad and tall, and it had its fists doubled up, its fists were real tight, and it was just ready to do business. And we got out. We just got out of there, and we never went back to that place again.
No.
Dang, it got quiet.
Sure did.
What about Marcy? Has anybody heard from Marcy and the kind of what's after last night? What's going on with her?
You talking about Darcy?
I'm waiting to hear her tell, but I really expect it to escalate. I'm waiting for it to start messing with the house.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting that myself. Uh-oh, we lost Teresa. What'd she get upset? Because of the Bible thing?
I hope not.
About to ask, is there any truth to Sasquatch entering people's homes while they're at home at the same time?
I've read of encounters. I've read where people say they have.
Latest one I heard was a girl that was inside a 2-story house doing her homework in her own room, and she heard something come in. She thought it was her parents. She looked up in the doorway, and there was this big hairy thing like staring at her, growling. Apparently she had an opportunity to take a photo of the thing with a camera.
There you go, Helen.
You know, I think myself personally, anybody that can grab a camera and take a picture of it, man, I give them, you know, that I would never have the sense, even if it was that camera was in my lap, there was no way I'd have the sense to pick it up and take a picture.
Apparently they don't like it when you try to take photos.
Where'd everybody go? Let's see. We lost Jared. We lost Teresa. Where did they go?
I don't know. I'm going to try and see if I can maybe message Teresa or something and see. I don't want her upset.
Yeah, I mean, she said we have to accept the fact that she believes in the biblical account of how humans came to be on this earth. Well, I mean, she can do that. That's fine. I just wanted to know where I was, and that this is Sasquatch hypotheses. You kind of put a roadblock in the way when that's where you stop things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to learn to keep my mouth shut.
Why?
Well, cause I don't, I didn't want to upset her or anything, but I do believe that, when you get a bunch of people together, you don't talk about religion or politics.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay if she says, I believe this, and that's kind of the end of it, but I don't know. She seemed to get angry because we were saying we don't believe that, I guess. Am I right? Is that how it was going?
Yeah, that's how it sounded, Rick.
And everybody is, like I said, everybody has their own beliefs, and everybody has their own intensity when it comes to religion. And everything, and I get it, I really do, and like I said, I hope I didn't step on her toes or anything.
I think it probably would have been me when I said what I said. Back off. Come on. Get out of there.
You can never win with people. Doesn't matter what you say, there's always somebody that'll take offense at something, at how it's said, or...
Well, Teresa's a regular, so I hope she didn't get upset.
Yeah, she's a good girl. I really like her. So I'm gonna get off here and see if I can't message her.
Yeah, I'm gonna send True to Form a message and see what the heck went on, why he disappeared. So Al, give us some, tell us some stories about down there in Australia. Are they similar to here, or are they different?
There's so many different stories that I've heard from mates. I don't know where to start. I can only relay some of the things that I've heard from some friends who are ex-military that have seen stuff. I've talked with mates that used to go pig hunting and they've encountered things. Where the heck do I start?
Well, I'm curious if the encounters are similar to ours, or are they different in some way?
Yeah, do they knock on the door and ask for garlic too?
Oh man, don't go down that road.
Most of the time, the creatures don't go near humans much. It's only on rare occasions they'll occasionally show themselves to a human. There's a story I've heard that happened to a poor fella that was involved in the building trade. He was helping building a house out at the Gold Coast, down at the Gold Coast property, Hinterland up in Queensland, and he heard something rustling through the bush while he was building the house. Creature followed him. He actually saw it. And he freaked out so much that he told the boss, "That's it, I'm quitting work. I'm not going to work at the work site anymore." Left, quit work, and told him, "I'm never coming back."
Yeah, I've heard stories like that here too.
Other one that gets me is you can actually look it up online. Yowies in the Australian military. There's a case where 2 off-duty Australian SAS officers were sent down to a place called Ormo in Queensland, where local farmers were having problems with a couple very aggressive yowies. They had to deal with them within a few hours of setting up the tents at night. By 10 o'clock at night, I think they were attacked by 2 yowies. They were throwing trees at them, and they took 2 semi-automatic weapons loaded with extra clips. They unloaded the full clips into the forest. They said the only thing that kept them alive was the fact that they kept throwing flashbangs at the creature.
That's interesting.
You won't hear much about it because they try to keep it hush-hush.
Yeah, it's the same here. Everyone tries to keep it hush-hush. Hey, Brian.
There's a couple of guys I was talking to that were SAS out at a training facility in Queensland called Tully. They've been having problems with yowies for years during military exercises.
Crypto, I don't understand. Send in video. If anyone ever mentions they have video, I'll do that. I put up the pictures that Teresa...
Rick, have you heard of there's a truck stop in New South Wales where truckies refuse to stop and park their trucks there? There's a yowie that doesn't like the truck drivers parking their trucks down there. It comes down and attacks the cab of the truck.
That's funny.
I think I read something about that.
It's a pretty well-known spot. But I've heard of a similar case that happened in the US. An American truck driver pulled over to rest. He heard something outside after a certain time, after a few hours sleeping. Something woke him up. It came at him at the cab. and proceeded to start pounding the crap out of the driver's side roof. He had to take the truck into his boss. They had to spend a few hours with a crowbar trying to get the driver's side door open.
I hadn't heard that one.
There's a YouTube report on it somewhere that the truck driver calls in. I don't know if it's Sasquatch Central or something like that. There's one interesting story I heard of a guy having a car accident, and it was during gutter, flooding in some gutter in the US, and the way his car crashed, it was filling with water. The Sasquatch came down, lifted the car up, moved the other end out of the water, and actually saved this guy's life.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. I hadn't heard that. That's here in America?
Yeah, that happened in the US.
Huh. That's weird that I haven't heard that one.
Another one I heard with a kid going home through a section of bush, and he was being terrorized by a wild dog, and a Sasquatch stepped in to chase off the wild dog off.
Yeah, I've heard of one Sasquatch pulling another off of a girl, but I hadn't heard these other stories yet.
The one that I find quite funny is a local paper boy. He actually had a Sasquatch chasing him, and the poor kid abandoned his bike, ran off. They went and checked the bike out a few hours later. Next day, they found it 15 feet up in a tree, bent the crap out.
That one I heard.
I heard that one. That was on Sasquatch Chronicles.
Sorry, guys, I got my two pet parrots keep attacking me.
So, Teresa, did you get Teresa?
I sent her a thing, but I haven't heard back from her. You got Ricochet on here, and he's muted.
Yeah, I've unmuted him. That's on his end.
There's one weird case that I know that happened up in Queensland, I think out in Kilcoy. There was a recorded case of a yowie actually going into someone's home while they were home. It freaked the hell out of them.
Yeah, somebody asked about Sasquatch going into people's homes a little bit ago while I was typing or something. And don't forget, we just did I just did an episode where we talked about the old woman where the two Sasquatch went in a house, killed her, and took her.
Yeah, I heard about that. Very good story.
Say again, Al, you broke up.
Sorry, I heard about that. Very sad story. You guys ever heard of that lady that wrote the book 100 Bigfoot Nights?
Yeah.
Her stories are quite interesting.
At Crypto, a bunch of us debated the other day. I'm answering a chat. A bunch of us debated, I think it was yesterday, and we came down to the conclusion that it would be a 12-gauge shotgun with Brennecke Special Forces breaching rounds. They have an alloy slug that won't mushroom as much, so it has more penetration. And we agreed that that would be the shot to use within 20 feet.
Is that the same round they use for opening safes?
I don't know about that, but they use it to like breach doors and stuff.
No, there's a shotgun round that you can get, military grade. They use it for opening safes. It's solid slug.
Yeah, this is a military. It might be, because that's what this is. It's a Special Forces round, special alloy, and it's extremely powerful. It has a lot of hit, a lot of punch. Hey, Ricochet, you're unmuted on this end. You got something on your end. Enable push to talk, and then you have to push to talk. And that was actually true to form, who came up with that a few days ago. And I argued with him saying that the Black Magic Magnum would be better. But then after that, I researched it. I don't know if it's a new round because I know I researched it years ago. And the Black Magic Magnum was the best option. And now when I'm researched it this time, this round turned out to be the best option. So they might have changed it. In the alloy round, that makes a big difference because that'll be able to punch through the chest muscle, the bone, etc.
What about trying to reverse round an old 303 round?
I don't know. I don't know much about a 303.
It's common practice throughout World War One. The English and the Germans learned about it too. They started doing it. Infantrymen, they would pull the head off a 303 round, reverse it, push it back into the 303, and then fire it from the 303, try and use it as a homemade armor-piercing round to penetrate tanks. They knew they couldn't destroy the tank, but they could kill and wound the crew inside.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, I mean, as far as the shotgun round, the versus the 303, you're talking about a 30 caliber versus I think it's a 72 millimeter round. It's much larger. So if that much larger round can penetrate through the Bigfoot, you're going to do a lot more damage.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So, like, would a 45 handgun, would it do any damage?
Depends on how close you are, and if it's a Magnum, I mean, it would have to be a seriously powerful load with a heavy round. I don't know. I don't have a 45. I don't know much about them, so I would assume because a 45 caliber is a large round, but you would probably have to be up close, like 10 feet.
I don't know.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Matt.
I've shot one. You know, we'd go out and we'd practice, and I just tried it out, but as well as I am and everything, of course, it was just way too much gun for me. But
Matt, can you answer that question on the 45? You think a 45 would be effective on a Bigfoot handgun?
You know, I really do think it would. I think it.
I do too, Matt.
I think it would slow it down, and then if you keep firing, I think it'll go down. But now a British 303, I truly believe a 30 cal will bring it down. Because I've shot 303s, and they're a dang good gun.
Tell them about the reversing of the round.
Oh yeah, it was common practice during World War One. The British started doing it. They pull the head off the 303 round and reverse it back in. Press it back in, fire it, and they used to fire it at tanks. It was a homemade armor-piercing round. It actually worked.
Yes, it makes it a lot strong. It's a strong punch to it. It gives it a good punch, and plus it deep penetration there.
But it was a practice, and they used to use it against tank crews. They knew they couldn't destroy the tank, so they'd cripple and wound the crew inside.
So as far as the 45 handgun, Matt, what would you say? You would have to be pretty close, though, wouldn't you? Have 10 feet or so?
Yeah, you'd have to be real close. But, you know, I got my doubts, man. I mean, these creatures are huge. And you got the strength to pull that trigger. Because if you make it mad, it's coming at you. But if you have no choice, if it's 10 feet from you, you have to fight or flight.
Yeah, I would just aim for some critical areas like the throat, the knees, the groin, you know.
Or like we were saying, the breastbone.
Why can't you just shoot it through the eyeball into the brain?
Yeah, if you're that close, you hit them in the eye.
What was that, Freak?
It all depends on the round with them 45s, too. You got a Black Talon, and that'll go through pretty much any chest plate.
Yeah, that's true, too. Depends on the round.
Yeah, I think we'd have to actually get a hold of one. Because it's all guesswork, really, to know how dense their muscle tissue is and all of that. I mean, you're just guessing. But I would say that like we were talking, that 12 gauge round would work. A 45 up close with a heavy load would probably work. You know, that's just my guess.
You know, that'd be a good experiment, Rick. Trying out a 45, see what penetration we get. 303, 30-06, 270. 270 is a good round too.
Yeah, I have I'm skeptical about smaller rounds. I think you have to go large caliber in order to ensure that you're not going to be lunch, you know. But I think if we take like maybe, just to be on the safe side, if you could do a ballistics test with like triple the bone and tissue that you would to test the penetration for a human being and see what round would do what, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and also there's the Italian Carcano, the one that shot JFK. Now my dad had one of them, and I tell you what, that round is a long round, and it's got a lot of lead.
My bets are on that shotgun round, though.
Yeah, I think that shotgun round is a sure thing.
Oh yeah.
What about something like an M15?
You mean an M16?
She said AR-15, I think she means.
Oh yeah, okay. You're just confusing the military and the civilian. Yeah, I don't know about that.
What, an M16?
Wouldn't that be more like a mosquito bite to them? Wouldn't that piss them off?
Yeah, 223 is not a good round. That's a 22 round.
Yeah, it's just designed with a pointy ballistics round with a heavier load than a 22.
It's been a long time.
I mean, look, if you pump enough rounds into it, yeah, but yeah, that's a 22 round.
I've seen those 22 rounds go through quarter-inch plate, though.
Oh yeah, they're wicked.
You throw a bunch of those at the head or knee areas, and they're going down.
Yeah, well, but then again, it depends on, you know, it's the type of round that you would have to make sure you hit specific areas like the throat, the eye, the knee. You know, I would want to rather have that 12 gauge where you just hit them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, now your 223 round, you can get them full metal jacket. Now, full metal jacket's going to go right straight through. It's not going to mushroom or nothing. And it's going to bounce around in there. Now, hunting round's going to mushroom. So 223, you penetrate in there, it's going to go anywhere. It's going to bounce around with a full metal jacket. But if you have a hunting round, it's going to mushroom.
Yeah, they're designed to bounce around because they're supposed to they're supposed to put the enemy on the wounded list. That's what they taught us when I was in the military.
Right. If you aim for the chest, it could come out your toe, you know. You never know.
Yeah, they actually didn't design that round to kill people. They designed it to tear them up real bad so they couldn't return to battle. Sorry, Freak, I was talking over you there, dude.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I said if you kill an enemy, that's one down. If you wound one, that's 3 down. You got 2 that's got to get them out of there.
Yeah, and then he's got to be taken care of and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that British 303 round would do some damage too. 303 or 308, 30 cal. I think it'll put them down.
I don't know, unless we're talking about some of them 12-footers that we've been hearing about.
Yeah, then you go with the 50 cal.
There you go.
Yeah, Crypto, I think a Gatling gun would probably tear a Bigfoot to pieces.
Isn't their bone structure quite thick in the chest areas and other parts of the body? I've heard it's extremely thick.
Well, the theory is that all of their bones are extremely thick because they have to be in order to support that kind of strength and muscle mass.
Oh yeah.
Except
Makes sense.
except your breastbone. If you think about it, it's cartilage. It's where all your ribs and everything join together. Your breastbone is cartilage.
Yeah, there's
That's a tender spot.
there's no muscle at all there.
I'm wondering if an old Aussie SLR rifle could drop a Sasquatch.
What caliber is that?
A 7.62 millimeter NATO round.
Yeah, that's 30 cal, I think. 7.62.
Yeah, it's 30 cal.
You can also get away with using 308 rounds on the things too.
Right, and same with our Russian Nagant rifle, the 7.62 by 54, I believe it is.
Yeah, that's the one.
Night, guys.
All
right, good night, Teresa.
Night, little T. Oh, is that Dee Dee I see on there?
Yeah, she's taking care of her daughter, so she said she'll be listening more than talking.
Glad you're safe.
I reckon an old World War II anti-tank rifle should be able to drop a Sasquatch.
Oh, most definitely.
Are you talking about like a law? Like an like?
No, it's a high-powered, heavy-caliber, usually bolt-action rifle that was used for shooting at tanks.
Did they use like the depleted uranium round or something like that?
I have to check what kind of rounds they used to. They used to use a wide variety of different shells and calibers. Usually, you tie tungsten tipped armor piercing sometimes when they could afford it.
Yeah, geez, I can't even remember what caliber they were. They were big though.
Yeah. I have heard of a story of one of those 50 cal sniper rifles dropping one of those creatures.
I'm sure it would.
I think that was it. That was the rifle Barrett Light 50.
Oh yeah, that'll take them down big time. That round's as big as your thumb.
Yeah, I know. It's like a very large 50 cal.
Well, with one of those, it depends on where you hit them. You might not have to cut anything off and take it with you.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, hit an arm, it's coming off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I used to love shooting the old Ma Deuce, boy. That thing's beautiful.
You guys heard anything about supposed special forces teams which are supposed to take on Sasquatch that are going bad in certain parts of the US?
Like hunter-killer teams?
Yeah. They do it unofficially off the record.
Yeah, I've heard some stories about that.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it's true.
Because I've heard some stories like that here in Australia with, I think, Australian SAS soldiers having to do it.
Heck yeah, I can see it happening, you know. Throw some rangers out there, some special forces, some, hunter-killer teams.
I have heard of one special forces team that had to take out 12 very angry, aggressive ones, but I don't know what part of the US that was. That was recently, beginning of this year in January, I think.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about that one.
No, I haven't either.
They actually said you won't find anything on record about it.
Oh heavens, no! You'll never find a record on it. No, that's
No.
government. Hey, Rick. Ricochet's trying to get on. Are you muted him?
No, he's unmuted. I don't know what's. It's on his side. I don't know what it is.
He may not have it on push to talk.
All right, good night, Paul. I don't know if you're already long gone, but I just saw your message.
So, Rick, how long have you been looking into the Sasquatch thing for?
Oh, since the 70s.
Wow.
Now, I saw one looking in the window at me about 5 feet away back in 78. So.
I bet that would have freaked the hell out of you.
Yeah, it still does when I walk by a window when it's dark out. All right, folks. Well,
So what I missed the first hour.
all right, folks. I'm going to go ahead and close out the show on YouTube. The talk will continue on Discord if you want to join us in there. The next show will be Wednesday night. So until
Has
then,
True to Form
y'all
been on
take it
yet
easy.
tonight?